Okay, so please lie on your backs and begin to notice how you're connecting with the floor. When you lie back, what part of you easily relaxes and receives support from the floor? Where do you feel full connection, full support, relief and relaxation? And where do you feel those subtle tendencies to continue to work, to continue to hold yourself up? Where your brain is still engaged with posturing your body in the unique way that looks like you. Maybe you feel your lower back lifted away from the floor. Maybe you feel your shoulders a little closer to your ears than you think they might do if they were fully relaxed. Maybe you can feel some tensions or some holdings in your face. Bring your attention to your feet and ankles. And just a little bit, wiggle your feet, just pull them up a little bit and then drop them. Pull them up and drop them. How relaxed are your feet from holding you up all day, every day, and walking you about on this earth? Bring your attention to your hands. And as you lie there, notice the position that your hands are resting in. Are your fingers long or are they curled? Do you rest your hands on the floor, palm down or palm up? What part of your hand is actually touching the floor? And if it's more comfortable to rest your hands across your trunk, that's fine too. Just notice what part of your fingers touch. Is it the pads or your whole finger? Does your thumb touch? Maybe you rest with the back of your hand on the floor. Does the whole of the back of your hand touch, or is it just part of it? And then bring your attention to your right hand. And just notice the configuration of your right hand resting there. And compare it to your left hand. We're all asymmetrical. We torture ourselves in trying to be symmetrical, balanced, straight, right, not wrong. But in truth, we're all asymmetrical, so see what differences you can appreciate between your right thumb and your left thumb. Maybe one is a little straighter or more flexed. Maybe you can sense a little more or less tension in one thumb. Maybe one is slightly more weighted on the floor than the other one, or resting closer to your first finger. Bring your attention to your first finger, your pointer finger, and compare the right and left sides. Noticing when we're attending to ourselves with such subtleties that your mind may wander, and just gently bring it back. Notice where it wanders to. Are you thinking ahead to the tasks before you, or behind to the events that just occurred? And then bring yourself back to your pointer finger on the right and your pointer finger on the left. And then shift your attention to your middle finger. Again, is one middle finger positioned a little more straight than the other one? Does one feel longer or shorter? Lighter or heavier? Or softer? As we sense each of the digits, sense the fingers themselves as well as how they connect into the palm of your hand. Shift your attention to your fourth finger, your ring finger. Some of you may have a different awareness because of rings that you wear. Notice the different sensations from the right to the left. And then bringing your attention to your fifth fingers. Nope, that's your fourth fingers. Fifth digit, your pinky. Notice also, is it easier to sense certain fingers than others? Maybe it's easy for your mind to sense where your thumb is in space and your pointer finger in space, but it's almost as if you just have to imagine, because you know you have a pinky finger, but you really have a hard time connecting any sensations with it. So let your brain imagine what you can't really feel. If you don't feel any differences, imagine, well, if I could feel differences, I'm just going to imagine, I'm going to make a best guess. What might they be? If at any time during this lesson your back or neck gets tired, feel free to bend your knees up. That might be more comfortable for your lower back. And you can shift at any time. And then bringing your attention to your right hand again. Roll your hand so your palm is facing either towards your side or up towards the ceiling. Whatever's comfortable. And then roll it back down. And just a couple times roll it up and roll it down. And notice, do you start the rolling from up in your shoulder? Or do you start the rolling from your hand? Maybe your thumb lifts a little bit and the whole rest of your hand follows. Or maybe you feel the rolling more in your wrist or your forearm. And if you really have no idea what I'm talking about, just make a guess. Be easy with yourself. Imagine that little infant lying on the floor, and one particular day it's been wiggling and moving, and all of a sudden it has the realization that I am wiggling and moving. That wiggling and moving that I feel is me. And if I continue wiggling and moving, I will discover that I can put my hand in my mouth, and it feels good. I will discover that I can point at things and make these big people around me jump and move and please me. What a marvelous discovery. And then rest your hand, again with your hand more palm up than palm down, but in whichever way feels the most relaxed, like you're not having to strain to hold it in upward. And again, that might be facing your thigh or more facing towards the ceiling, but an easy position for the rest of your arm and wrist and hand. And take your thumb and begin just very lightly touching your thumb to the tip of your first finger. Feel the sensation. What's it like, that first moment that skin to skin touches? And just rub it around like you've never really taken the time to notice what that experience is like. And then rest the finger and the thumb. Does the finger rest back to the same position it was in before your thumb explored it? Or does it stay a little flexed? And then bring your thumb to your middle finger and explore the tip of your middle finger. All those fine lines on your skin. Can you touch the tip of your finger so lightly that you have a sense that it's really not smooth skin, but it's filled with lines on the tips of both your thumb and your middle finger? Does your thumb tend to move side to side or up and down? Do you tend to move your thumb more or your finger more? And then let those rest. Bring your thumb to your fourth finger now. Feeling the very tip. What's that like? What's it like to have your thumb feel the tip of your fourth finger? And what's it like for the fourth of your tip finger to feel the tip of your thumb? A very subtle shift in intention, but a shift nonetheless. And let that go. And then bring your thumb to your fourth finger, your pinky, exploring the tip of your pinky. That light, delicate touch. No effort, just curiosity. Noticing when the brain that's so used to having attention demanded from it drifts off because it's just not well accustomed to noticing the subtleties, particularly the subtleties of your own body. And then let that go and rest. And bring your hand to the resting position that you had started in. And then notice, just from these very subtle movements, differences in how you sense your right hand compared to your left hand. Your right hand may feel a little warmer or tingly. It might feel lighter or heavier, softer, bigger. And then turn your hand, the right again, once again, so the palm is upward. And begin just rubbing your thumb over the first finger, the second finger, the third finger, the fourth finger, just back and forth, feeling the thumb to the fingers to the thumb, noticing the very unique movements that human beings have the capacity of with their thumb. Begin to explore more of each finger, taking your thumb down the length of each finger and back up to the tip. Down the length and up to the tip. Keeping your palm soft, your wrist soft. Noticing how you're breathing. Noticing if there's any unnecessary tension in your face, your eyes, your tongue, your jaw. What little movements happen in your wrist as your thumb maneuvers to explore each of your fingers? And then starting on the side of the first finger, the side that's closest to the thumb, trace the outside and the inside of each finger. So you'll slide up the side of the finger over the tip and down the side to the crevice, and then up the side of the middle finger, tracing your hand with your thumb. There's some interesting places in how you coordinate your hand to find the crevices between the fingers. Notice if you change your breath when you're trying to reach those places. Notice if something's a little more difficult to reach with your thumb, what words pop into your mind? Is it interesting? Is it difficult or hard? Maybe there's something wrong with you because you can't feel a certain part of your finger. At least that's what your mind tries to tell you. Or maybe there's something really wrong with the teacher who thinks you should be able to feel that part of where your fingers connect. What kind of stories does your mind lead you through as you trace over and over, the inside and the outsides of your fingers. And you notice your thoughts, and then you come back to the sensations. Always returning to the sensations of this moment, this mini experiment. And then let your hand rest. Notice the sensations of your right hand now compared to your left hand. Notice your whole right arm and how it rests on the floor compared to the left arm. Lighter or heavier, longer or shorter. Sometimes it just feels fuller, fluffier. Like there's more there. Take a moment to bend your knees up, and just, if it's easy on your back, just gently wiggle your knees a little bit from side to side and roll your head from side to side so there's no stiffness accumulating anywhere in your body. A little stretch, a little wiggle. Breath into your belly. And then when you're ready, come to neutral again. Bring your attention to any differences you notice between the right and left sides. Learning doesn't occur through sameness. Learning doesn't occur because we're always right and everything's always flowing easily in our lives. Learning comes from the differences, from the contrast. From the opportunity to wake your brain up to new sensations. And now bringing your attention again to your right hand, we're going to make what in the Feldenkrais world is called the bell movement. And I actually think of it more as the jellyfish movement. But you're going to bring all your fingers together so all the tips come towards each other, and then you're going to gently open your hand. And you're going to bring them together, and you're going to just soften and open. You're not opening and stretching, you're just softening and closing and softening. And then bring your wrist into that movement so that as you bring your fingers together, you're sort of dipping your hand downward, and as you open, you're lifting your hand backwards. And just begin swishing the little jellyfish a little bit through space, as if you were in water, like a jellyfish. And as your fingers come together, you just move through the water and you feel the molecules of water through the crevices between each finger as your fingers come together. And then you lift your hand back up, maybe arching your hand a little backwards. Moving your hand down and back. Feeling the influence on your forearm and your elbow. And you may notice as you bring your hand down, does your forearm want to turn a little in towards your body or out, away from your body? So notice that rotational component of your forearm, and just see if you can just let it go. Let your whole forearm, from the elbow all the way through your fingertips, lighten up and get loose, and just play in the flowing water. The flowing molecules of air that you are surrounded by. And when you're ready, grow the movement even further, beginning to raise your whole arm in the air. So your elbow comes off, you open your hand, And let's just close the hand as you come back towards the floor. Try that a few times. Opening and lifting, and closing and lowering. Beautiful. Imagining that you're feeling that subtle resistance of water swirling around your hand. And what if you did it the other way? Lifting and closing, and coming down towards the floor and opening. So really it'd be like the resistance of the water is opening your hand as you lower it. And the water, as you lift your hand, pushes down to the top of your wrist and the tops of your fingers, bringing your fingers together. And just bring your whole arm and hand down to the floor and pause for a moment. Lying like this, without moving, can you bring your attention to how your pinky finger just feels as it rests here? How your ring finger feels resting. Is there any capacity to feel sensations in your middle finger? Maybe yes, maybe no. Your pointer finger and your thumb. And for a moment, shift your attention to the left side, the left hand, and do the same thing. What's it like to just, without moving, bring your attention to any sensations in your left pinky? Does your left pinky feel differently, or is your ability to attend to your left pinky different from the right? The left ring finger, the left middle finger, your pointer, and your thumb. Very slowly watch yourself. See if you can watch how you shift your attention from your left hand over to your right hand. And now you're feeling sensations again in your right hand. And very slowly, gradually, you don't have to do the whole movement all at once, but work your way back into the jellyfish movement. First, just maybe discovering your fingers again. Maybe discovering opening and closing of just your hand. Your own pace, working your way into a full movement so your whole arm eventually becomes involved in the swishing, the opening and closing. As if you're jellyfish, as if your hand is wanting to explore all the molecules of air around you. Maybe it wants to open and close and feel what's out there to your right a little bit. What's out there up and to your right, and what's up there down and to your right. And what guides the movement as you begin including your whole arm, is it all just guided by the opening and closing of your fingers? Can you just allow your elbow and your shoulder to just fluidly follow along?
Bye. Thank you very much. Yeah, bye.
And then let your hand, let your jellyfish begin exploring your own self. So as you raise and lower, drop it maybe on your belly and feel how your fingertips experience your own belly and different parts. As you open and close, you feel the fabric of your shirt. And maybe you feel some of your ribs next time. or maybe your sternum, your breastbone. Even though the same shirt is on all parts of your trunk, might you feel some wrinkles differently? Or up in your chest where there might be less tissue between your bones and your skin. How does that feel under your fingertips compared to down in your belly where there's no bones underneath the tissue? Can you sense any layers of yourself with just the brushing of your fingers on your trunk? If your knees are bent up, you can even explore a little bit of your thigh on the right. And begin exploring more and more over towards your left side. The left side of your abdomen and pelvis. The left side of your ribs or your shoulder. Maybe even your face, the right or the left side. What if your jellyfish wants to feel the skin on your face? The difference between your lips and your eyes, your scalp and your hair. How do we bring our mind's attention again and again in each new moment to freshly experience the sensations? The sensations of this part of your body, this particular configuration of your arm, this particular way that your fingers are closing and feeling this part of your body is different each time. Rather than making it automatic touch and release, you are a living, breathing human being. Every cell of your body is living to support your wellness and your continual growth. And continue moving towards the left until you can start exploring down your left shoulder, your left upper arm. And let your right arm really lead the movement. You might find that your shoulder wants to lift a little more. You might find that to easily and comfortably explore your left arm, that you want to roll your body a little bit. And how can you easily let that movement be an extension of the reaching from your right arm? Your right arm reaches and it connects with the ribs, which connect with the spine, which connects with the pelvis. And at the same time you're touching another part, a fresh new part of your own being. Lightly, easily. Giving yourself permission to do more or do less, but to learn to keep the direction of your movements in the range that's pleasant, effortless, enjoyable. And when you're ready, rest your arm down to your side lightly, letting it just float down like an object would float to the bottom of the warm Caribbean Sea. What does the right side of your back feel like compared to the left side of your back? Your shoulder blades, the back of your ribs, your lower back, which usually curves a little bit away from the floor, the right buttock and gluteal muscles compared to the left. how your right leg rests on the floor compared to the left, even your right foot and ankle. Gently begin waking yourself up to the sensations of your left thumb. Let your left thumb begin to discover the tips of each of your fingers. Notice if your thumb tends to do all the moving to meet the fingers, or the movement that happens in the fingers to meet the thumb. Explore the full length of each finger, the insides and the outsides of each finger. Feel the movements in the palm of your hand as your thumb and fingers become alive and awake in your nervous system, your attention, your intention, your curiosity. That natural desire to feel and explore that often lays dormant for much of our lives. Once we've managed to get ourselves from crawling to walking to running, throwing, jumping, skipping, writing and reading, when do we explore our own physical experience? Unless, of course, the body gets tired of not being listened to, and it has its own little ways of knocking on the doors of our mind. Often those ways come in forms of pain, discomfort. And continue to grow the movement of the left hand until you begin discovering the gentle opening and closing. Letting your hand pulsate with the same kind of opening and closing pulsations of life that happen in every cell, in every molecule, that indeed connects us to a force of creation, growing and expanding, the opening and closing, to begin exploring the space around you. Noticing what part of your elbow bends, what kind of movements you begin to sense in your wrist, in your forearm. Feeling that movement gradually grow from your fingertips through your wrist, through your elbow, until eventually your elbow just effortlessly lifts off the ground as you explore more and more of the space around you. Reaching farther and higher, further to the left. What's out there? Maybe it's your neighbor. What's up there? If at any point you feel fatigue in your arm, just rest it and then return to the movements, growing your expedition into space with your jellyfish, growing your experiment into the sensations of how you touch your body, how you feel the fabric of your clothes, how you feel yourself beneath your fingertips, beneath the fabric. What does the skin feel like? What do the muscles feel like? What do the bones beneath the skin and the muscles and all of the tissue feel like? And where does your mind go? And how do you bring it back to the next unique moment? How do we retrain our minds to recognize that the most important moment is now? The most important experience is that we relax, that we know that we are cared for and supported. That all the positioning and holding and posturing that we can effort towards is ultimately not going to benefit this life experience. What does your skin on your face feel like compared to the fabric on your trunk? What is it like each time you gently and kindly come in contact with yourself, with your being? How often do you touch yourself so kindly, so curiously, with so much interest? Just notice how you might organize yourself to continue your exploration to your right shoulder, and if it's easy, down your right arm. And when you're ready, let your hand and your arm float through the warm ocean water back down to your side. Bend your knees up and just do a little wiggle, a little gentle, easy breathing and stretching with your knees, your pelvis, your neck and head. Everything may be so soft now that you don't need to, but sometimes lying still like this is not in our human nature. Look at the little ones in the classrooms, born to wiggle, forced to sit still. And again, pausing in a neutral place, bringing your attention to your left hand and your right hand. What's it like to feel both hands through your mind simultaneously? Do you notice that you shift from right to left, left to right? Or can you expand the sensation to include both hands, both arms? And then begin with both hands the jellyfish movement. Exploring the space around you. feeling differences between the comfort level of your right hand and the comfort level of your left hand. Noticing if you keep the pace the same with both hands, or if you begin to open one at a different time than the other one. Maybe one opens while the other one closes. Do they both reach in the air in the same direction, or is one exploring down while the other one explores up? Just let them go free. Just floating randomly, whatever way the directions of the molecules of your hand and the air and the space and your neighbor guides them. Sometimes there's a general tendency, if you watch the floaties in the water, some of them go the same way, but some of them randomly get called to another purpose. Maybe one hand wants to explore the air while the other one senses the fabric of your clothes, or the skin on your face, or the hair on your head. You're reaching, you're exploring, you're soft. What's the voice in your head? Is it pleased and happy to be free to move in this way? Do you have one of those voices that says, I'm so glad no one's watching me? Maybe you have one of those voices that says, I wonder if I'm doing this right. Maybe I should look at my neighbor. Or one of those voices that says, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done in my life. Does that make it good or bad? Interesting? And let your arms rest at your sides. Feel how your body is connecting now to the floor. What touches? Where do you fully surrender to this moment? And where are you aware that you're still holding? That there's places that you haven't discovered yet that you can let go, and that's okay too. We're all on this imperfect journey together. Perfectly imperfect journey. And bring your attention to either hand or both hands, however you want to do it. But use the movement, use the jellyfish movement to find your way to your side and up to standing. So you'll know when you're efforting because your hand might get tense. And just pause and soften your hand again, soften your body, and see if there's a way you can maintain the softness of your hand, the soft opening and closing of either one hand or both, as you gently find your way up to sitting and then standing. And once in standing, just continue. Take a moment to pause and feel just standing. And then take a few moments to feel just walking. And then take some moments to feel the jellyfish in standing and walking. Thank you.